The notorious pro-LGBT Jesuit Father James Martin is speaking with Irish bishops at their holiest shrine in Knock. Join us with the latest from the Eternal City, Church Militant's Rome correspondent, Dr. Jules Gomes. Jules, the Irish bishops are talking with celebrity homosexualist, priest and darling of the pro-LGBT media, Father James Martin. Please tell me it isn't so.
Brad, I'm afraid I had a call from a very well-informed Irishman just 3 hours before we came on air. And he called me to tell me that Father James Martin has been flown from the United States to Ireland. And yesterday, Martin addressed the Irish Bishops' Conference on the topic of same-sex blessings. We don't know officially much because the Irish bishops are pretty tight-lipped and playing their cards very close to their chest on this one, particularly because faithful Catholics are incensed that James Martin is not only addressing the bishops, but he's addressing them at their beloved shrine in Knock.
So you're saying, I mean, it goes without saying what he'd be talking about. He's kind of a one-trick pony, all things gay. But any word specifically what he had to say on the whole homosexual agenda?
Well, you know, nobody flies James Martin halfway around the world to talk about patristics or biblical studies or church history or theology for that matter. His pet, topic is the LGBT agenda. And it seems that at this conference, he's very specifically talking about how to implement fiducia supplicans following the rubrics. The rubrics, of course, talk about the blessing being spontaneous. But what I'm hearing on the ground is that he's also addressing the bishops on the topic of same-sex marriage. So James Martin is really pushing the envelope here.
Well, we'll have to wait to see if that gets confirmed or not. The same-sex marriage thing might be a bridge too far, even for a bridge builder like Father Martin. But this whole idea that fiducia supplicans brings in gay blessings, that it would seem very plausible that Father Martin would be talking at least about blessing same-sex couples. Now, can you review for the audience here what Father Martin, he made headlines right after the Vatican issued the declaration on blessing same-sex couples, and all that dust-up now has ensued. Can you recount for us what Father Martin did right out of the gate after fiducia supplicans was issued about blessing same-sex couples, and the problems with what he did?
Brad, Father James Martin and Pope Francis have both learned a trick or two from the Old Testament prophets, who made great and very powerful use of symbols and signs. They knew that, an image or a sign speaks 1,000 times more than a word. And we've talked about this in terms of the Pope's subversive signaling and what James Martin did, hours after fiducia supplicans was issued, he got the New York Times to do, a very long, detailed story on a couple. He immediately rushed to bless this couple, Damien titled Jack and his husband. They used the word husband, by the way. The Catholics, Jason's titled Jack, were blessed by Father James Martin, and Father James Martin used the Aaronic blessing from Numbers chapter 6, I think. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Now, that's not particularly spontaneous. That is a very liturgical blessing, probably the world's, oldest liturgical blessings in terms of the Jewish and Christian religions. And now, Jason's title, Jack, is a Catholic theologian who teaches at a Catholic university, St. Joseph's University. He has published a book on LGBT ministry or whatever, but from the Paulist Press, a Catholic press. And they talk about their life together. Basically, they say that they were married in 2022. They say that since they could not get married in a Catholic church, they are very faithful mass goers. They say they even kiss during the sign of peace. And they married in a Protestant church. But Father James Martin blessed this already, quote-unquote, married LGBT homosexual couple.
Now, there was some tendrils in Fiducia Supplicans, compliments of Fernandez, Cardinal Fernandez, the head of the DDF, that says, you know, this is not supposed to be done in a high-profile, public way of scandalizing, you know, people out there, and yet this is already on the New York Times list. So, you know, right on the front page of the New York Times, that picture of him blessing this couple. So the idea that, you know, he's not going to cause any public scandal with this certainly happened. And the other thing was that Fernandez is trying to write in there in his way of saying and not saying and back and forth and him and Han in the Fiducia Supplicans that, you know, you're supposed to be helping someone to live more of a Christian lifestyle, more of a moral lifestyle. They're asking for help to live according to God's plan. Doesn't sound like this couple has any intentions whatsoever of living according to God's plan, that they weren't coming seeking separation, that they weren't coming seeking anything except affirmation of their lifestyle. Your thoughts?
You know, who am I to judge? The Holy Father would say. And who am I to pry and probe into their personal life? That is between them and God. I'm being sarcastic here, by the way, but their public life is very public. They make no attempt to say homosexual relations are wrong. In fact, they not only affirm same-sex relations, but they even affirm same-sex marriage. And Father James Martin knows this. The employer, St. Joseph's University, knows this. And Paulist Press, who have published his book, his titled Jack's book, knows this. So, you know, all these niceties about, you know, following, you know, blessing them so that they could be brought to repentance, etc. That sounds almost Pharisaical, Brad, at this stage.
Well, moving on now with the place at Knock there, the holiest shrine. It seems like Knock is always getting knocked down by inviting high-profile dissident Catholics who advocate everything from homosexuality, Father James Martin, to abortion, like President Joe Biden. Can you bring us up to speed on Biden's visit there?
I did a story on this last year, Brad. In April 2022, Biden visited Knock. The rector, Father Richard Gibbons, rolled out a red carpet welcome. In fact, he treated Biden with such a reverence that the whole of the shrine was shut down to allow the president privacy in the shrine. And apparently the Facebook page got so many complaints on Biden, Knock Shrine's Facebook page, on Biden's visit that Father Gibbons very quickly blocked people from responding. Remember, the Shrine of Knock is part of the Diocese of Tuam, and the bishop there, the ordinary, is Archbishop Francis Duffy, who is very pro-LGBT. In 2015, he rebuked a priest, a faithful priest, who preached against the Irish referendum on same-sex marriage. This priest called the referendum the work of the devil, and Archbishop Francis Duffy rapped this poor priest on the knuckles. So, but on the whole, it seems like most of the Irish bishops are pretty liberal on the whole LGBT thing.
No, not just the LGBT. It seems like the Irish bishops have really, taken yet just another left turn down the anything but Catholic road. How is the faith overall in Ireland?
Dreadful. When I was growing up, there was a saying among Catholics that Ireland exported whiskey, priests, and I've forgotten what the third thing was. But yeah, Catholic missionaries from Ireland went all around the world. But today, St. Patrick's Seminary in Maynooth, which is the biggest seminary, the main seminary, built in 1795, which had 500 seminarians at the peak of its greatness, now has just 20. In 1970, Mass goers were 90%. 90% of Irish Catholics went to Mass. And now it's 1 out of 3. Most of those are, about 70. And there were 14,000 nuns in the 1950s, but today there are just 4,000 nuns, again, most of them elderly. The Irish Church is basically on life support, Brad, and there is also a great deal of hostility to the Irish Catholic Church, particularly in the light of clerical sex abuse revelations. I know many priests who tell me that they don't go out in public wearing their Roman collar because people have actually spat at them because of this, real hatred towards the church in what was once gloriously Catholic Ireland.
And we know that the sex abuse, about 80% of that is from homosexual clerics, and the fact that now they're inviting a homosexualist priest in there doesn't bode well for the future of the faith there. Well, you'd think the left-wing version of Catholicism was already tried in Ireland for the past 50 years and failed miserably, that church leaders would have the common sense, at least, to get back to basics of teaching Catholic faith and morals. That doesn't seem to be the case here. Please keep Ireland in your prayers, their leadership, and the faithful Irish Catholics laboring to keep their faith alive in spite of their leadership. Jules, thank you so much for your report on Ireland, and keep us updated on the faith there.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks again for watching today's episode of Rome Dispatch. This show is brought to you by donors like Real Estate for Life. If you're looking to buy or sell a home and want to support our mission, visit realestateforlife.org. Again, that's realestateforlife.org. Be sure to tell them Church Militant sent you. God bless.